Steel Curtain Network.
¡Por Jorgito! ¡Touchdown! Najee Harris! DJ Watt!
What's going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview Podcast. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. We are previewing the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 6, a 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Dave, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. It would be going much better if the Steelers weren't on a 2-game losing streak. But hey, every new week gives a new opportunity.
That's true. Bryan Davis, what's up? How's it going?
A 2-game losing streak makes it interesting, I guess. It gives us something to talk about, right? No, there's no silver lining in a losing streak. No, it's going good. I'm ready for this game that I don't want to ruin the title, but I'm ready to get right.
All right. Very good.
I have a quick question for you, though, Jeff, before we get started. Are you tired of hearing from Bryan? I assume he was your he was your behind enemy line segment, bringing in a true Raiders fan. I was just wondering if you've already recorded that one.
You know, it was. We recorded it right before this. The number one Raider fan, Bryan Anthony Davis, he said silver and black lining is what he said. That was how he
I love it. Look at the background. There's no silver and black lining. I may be a hoe, but I'm loyal to the black and gold.
Well played, Dave.
I'm sorry,
well
Bryan.
played.
I couldn't help myself.
Well played. You can check out the real behind enemy line segment tomorrow with Hondo Carpenter, who covers the Raiders inside the locker room for Fans First Sports Network and Sports Illustrated. I did record that. It's a great conversation. He's very glued into the National Football League. But let's talk about this upcoming game. And before we talk about the injury reports, guys, I have a question. I've been thinking about this all day as we get ready for this show. And I didn't talk about it a lot on Let's Ride for tomorrow morning, but I want to talk about George Pickens for just a second. There's been a lot of crap going around, a lot of people that are really having interesting takes on it. Dave, I'm just going to ask you flat out, what's your take on the whole George Pickens situation?
On the whole George Pickens situation.
Yes.
Here's what I said when my father was talking to me about George Pickens today, when I spoke to him, and I said, you know what? I would not be shocked if George Pickens comes out this week after having a rough week with everything going on and goes for 160 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I said, but I also wouldn't be shocked if George Pickens comes out and you don't see him anywhere on the field making any kind of impact, and he just kind of fades into oblivion. I think this week, because I don't like to look back too much, but this week I think it's going to be more of a, is he in the game plan or is he not? There's so much going on here that we don't know. Why were there shots and reports of him sitting down on the bench and then instantly teammates getting up and moving away from him during the game? What's going on with that? What's going on with the reactions that of when he drops a pass, just not meaning the rest of the team? I wish we knew so much more of the story, but they're doing a really good job of trying to cover up the story when there's obviously a story there that they're trying not to get out.
Yeah, that's true. Bryan, what's your take?
I think it was a meltdown, but this is one of those meltdowns that, not like Chernobyl, that takes forever to clean up. So this is one of those things that I think if you want to look anywhere, look towards Pat Fryermuth's comments. Now, Pat Fryermuth's comments on Sunday or Monday or whenever he made those comments, I think they were right after the game, were so much different than they were on Tuesday when he was saying, hey, look, George cares. We're guiding him in the right direction. We're getting him there. I really feel that there's a few guys. Minka's probably he probably needs to stay away from Minka in the locker room right now. To get doesn't want to get the Chase Claypool's treatment because Minka's mad, and I get it, but that's a leader, and we always talk about accountable guys in the locker room. Looks like Pat Fryermuth is one of them, and it looks like he's taking George under his wing. And I don't care if he's been in the league 3 years. He's young, and he needs to be guided. And there's plenty of guidance here. This game is pivotal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game is pivotal for George Pickens. And I know it's early to say it's pivotal, but for George Pickens, he could, like Dave alluded to the fact that he could go off into oblivion or he can go off. I'm kind of thinking he goes off, but goes off in a good way, because this is the right recipe for things to go right. But I can see it going wrong in a very bad way if they haven't handled their business at home this week. I would like to think that they handled their business in-house. And there's a lot of things Mike Tomlin mentioned. Hey, there's things that we don't need to discuss in front of you. No, don't discuss them in front of me. I don't want you to discuss them in front of the microphones. Just take care of it and you'll see it. This could be the Cincinnati game all over again, where he just comes out, they target him, and he goes crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to say I have a lot of questions about the media's coverage of the incident. And when I say that, I want to specify the fan base brings their own narratives based on what they're hearing and reading from the media. We all know that's how it works. And I feel like the media is really painting this in a picture that is kind of unfair, in my opinion. So did George Pickens act appropriately? No. Throws his helmet, sulking. And the eye black thing, okay, say what you want about it, but the league's going to fine him for that anyways, because you're not allowed to have messages on your eye black no matter what it is. If it's a biblical verse or whatever, you can't do it. And they asked him, like, did you know that Cam Hayward got fined for that back in the day? And he said, before I was in the league, no. And people are like all up in arms about this. The guy was probably in, I don't know, freshman in high school when Cam was getting fined for wearing iron head eye black. I don't know what year that was. Brian's muted. He's trying to talk, but maybe
that was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was in middle school.
Yeah. So he was young. So I don't blame him for not knowing that policy. Now, do you want to blame the coaching staff for not saying, or the equipment staff and saying, hey, you mind taking that off? Sure. You can blame that. My blame and my frustration with George Pickens has nothing to do with his outburst, players potentially moving away from him on the bench, him not wanting to talk to the media, him talking to the media today and being very short. What do you want the guy to say? Okay. But I have an issue with his effort, because the one thing that you can't change is your effort. So when George Pickens is running lazy routes, and that's exactly what he was doing, and you just saw it was 75% at best, you can say, go back to all the diva receivers if you want to label him as that. Let's go to Antonio Brown, the biggest of them all with the Steelers probably. The Gatorade jugs being tossed, the tantrums on the sideline. Did we ever question Antonio Brown's effort on the field?
Never.
Dave, did you?
No.
He went 100% every single time the ball was snapped. And you know what? Most of the time he produced. If the ball was thrown his way, he was coming down with it. That's where if George Pickens can fix one thing, man, I don't care how you talk to the media. You can pull a Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. And that's fine with me. You could throw all the temper tantrums you want. I don't know if your teammates are going to like it, but if you go out on the field and actually try your hardest, there you go, Dave, play hard. Yeah. Go out and give 100% effort. A lot of this stuff will solve itself. But unfortunately, that's the issue I have with George Pickens. But I think the media today, and I'll come to you in a second. Yeah. The media today, the way they were wording things, it's like they were baiting him into stuff. And I hate that. I really don't like that. I just think that that's unfair. And people might say, well, Jeff, you're not in the locker room. If I was, you know who I wouldn't talk to? I wouldn't talk to Najee Harris. I wouldn't talk to George Pickens. Why? They're not going to give me anything. There's a reason Jim Wexell doesn't talk to some of these guys. Listen to the Steel City Insider podcast on the Steel Curtain Network. He'll openly state, I don't talk to that guy because he has nothing to say that's really thoughtful. So I'm going to go talk to other people. I'm going to talk to Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to talk to Cam Hayward. I'm going to go talk to a number of players, Landon Roberts, Patrick Queen. I don't know. I feel like some of it's his fault for sure. I'd also feel like the media painting the picture is not that clear, not that pretty. Dave, what do you want to say?
Yeah, and I've said it a number of times. I said it Tuesday night. I said it this morning on Pittsburgh Standard Time. Coach Tomlin's last question about Pickens on Tuesday and his answer to it was the one that really told us more than anything. When they're giving us the ridiculous story of keeping his snaps down and workload management and that stuff, and they said, "Oh well, does him not running routes very hard? Does that that factors into his workload?" In other words, he's saying, "Oh well, if he's so tired that he can't run hard routes when he's on the field, then he just must not need to be on the field as much." That's the way of saying what's going on while trying to say nothing's going on.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, what's your any thoughts?
Yeah, I have one more thing to say, and you mentioned the media here, and the media is just trying to blow this out of proportion. Now, I was messing around on X, formerly known as Twitter, the other day, and I found something completely unrelated to this, but it's, Tears for Fears had a song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and inside it, there's one of my favorite lines is one headline, don't believe it. So the headline in everything paints a horrible picture, especially of the athlete, of the team, or whatever. And then when you click on it, you're like, oh, here's the rest of the story. So when I was screwing around on Twitter, I saw something about Denzel snubs Jay-Z at basketball game. And you see him, he walks past and he pushes him away. And then you click on it, there's this big problem. Denzel hates Jay-Z. Then you click on it and look at the rest of it. He goes back and he hugs them and says hello. And basically it looks like, oh, I didn't see you there. I didn't realize. I thought you were just a reporter or a fan grabbing me. So that's the whole thing. Everything that you look at here with George Pickens, sure, I'm concerned about the route running. I'm concerned about the ball sailing through his hands, whether it's high or not, you catch that ball. That's the stuff I'm concerned about. I think that's stuff that they can go ahead and clean up. But what I'm not concerned about is what the media is trying to push this guy into imploding even more. And that's exactly what they're doing. George Pickens had every right to just be concise. He was coached today, I'm sure. Just go in, be concise, get in, get out. Whatever he says, if it goes longer, we're going to go ahead and everybody's going to rip it apart and try to find meaning in everything. When really, let's just see what happens in week 6.
Yeah, if you watch the videos that came out from Pickens' media availability today, you saw who was standing next to him. It was one Burt Lawton, who is the director of PR for the Steelers. He stands next to people that need him to stand next to people. But hey, you brought up a good point, Brian. So I get, for those that are watching live, I get notifications about the Steelers from my ESPN app. What is the headline at 1:35 p.m. today? Pickens defiant with media. The description: George Pickens dismisses questions on explicit eye black post-game incident versus Cowboys and his usage on offense. Like, think about what that's saying. If you watch the video, you're like, gosh, this is why I don't blame people for, dismissing some of this stuff. I hope that, our content, it does not fall into that category, but nonetheless, I'm not there. So what do I know? Let's move on. I don't want to get Charles' take on that. Yeah. Let's move on.
I'm just going to say, it's not that it's not concerning.
Oh, for sure.
But do we want to be complacent in making it worse? No.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to be.
And we do have a super chat. I want to get to this before we move on to the injury reports. Faceless Man gives us $5. He says, can we talk about if we think Coach T is, quote, living in his fears, refusing to play Roman Wilson, game planning to win closely, calling that extra timeout? All right, Faceless Man, thank you for the tip. We appreciate the $5 for sure. I think there have been moments, and I know for a fact Dave Schofield's talked about this on his podcast, that he has lived in his fears.
Yes.
Whether it's with time management, whether it's with being conservative with the offensive play calls, conservative with the defensive play calls. In terms of Roman Wilson, I don't know if that would categorize as being living in your fears. What's your take, Dave?
Well, the Roman Wilson thing, I know some people are saying he's just more injured than what they say. No, he just didn't. He got in. He pulled a Corey Trice. He got injured in the first padded practice of training camp and couldn't practice for 2 weeks into the season. The dude just needs more work before they're comfortable. Now, this week, unless they're making a bunch of roster moves, they might have their whole inactive list full of people that are injured. They might not have any help. They might even have all 3 quarterbacks active simply because they don't need to have anyone inactive because of the number of players that they could be missing. So when it comes to Roman Wilson, that's really what it is. He missed so much time. He was so far back on trying to hop on the moving train. They've got to try to get him up to speed. So don't look at that too much. Would we like to see him? Would I like to think he's ready? Yeah, but it doesn't mean that he is. Now, when it comes to what was the other ones? I'm trying to remember what some of the other
game planning to win closely and calling that extra TD.
Okay, or TO. Okay. The game planning to win closely. That's one of the things. I think I spoke on it on Pittsburgh Standard Time. Drives me nuts. Why are you trying to win a game? It's like, let's not let the offense do any more than it has to than to just get by. It seems like that's what they're trying to do. And the problem is, if one thing doesn't go right for you, then it's not going to be enough. You know, if you're trying to win a game by 3 points and you mess up one time, you're probably going to lose that game. If you're aiming to win a game by 20 points and you mess up, oh, well, you only won it by 10. You know? So I just feel like the bar that they're setting for the offense, and honestly, that could lead into what was going on with George Pickens. I was very disappointed. I thought we were going to see the Steelers offense taking more shots, doing things to try to be a little bit more dynamic, trying to put more points on the board because of what they showed in the second half in Indianapolis when they were forced to do so. Like, okay, wait a second. You didn't give us a chance to go out there and be dynamic. We were forced into it because we were down in a game by a bunch. So we go out there, show that we can do it, can almost come back from a 17-point deficit. Almost. I know almost doesn't count, but at least they got themselves back in the game and put up a bunch of yards and did those things in the process. You would think that the next week you would come in and maybe have a little bit more trust in your offense. And they didn't. They might have taken a couple more shots that didn't work out early in the game, but that doesn't mean that you just abandon it altogether. Could it have been that the players weren't executing as well? Absolutely. But at the same time, it does seem like you're living in your fears. And it feels like the last 2 games, sorry to kind of go off here a little bit, but it feels like the last 2 games that the living in the fears got pushed onto the defense as well. And how they played third down defense. The defense was just out there doing crazy things all the time. Now, you could say it's because they lost some players. You could talk about Alex Highsmith. You could talk about other stuff with outside linebacker. But it feels like they got ultra conservative on third down, and it killed them for the last 2 games. Were they that conservative, or did we just not pay attention to it?
Brian, anything to add to that?
Yeah, Faceless Man says, again, I've never seen a team try so hard to use all 3 downs to get a first down. And that's another thing for me it seems like they're looking in that entire process and using them all and not giving themselves any margin for error. I'd like to see them go for it more and more. So if they're living in their fears, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. The timeout, I don't really care about the timeout as much, and I'm going to get some criticism for that, but you stop them there or you're going to lose the game. And I really think that's kind of what Mike Tomlin said. If they needed to, I didn't love it at first. I complained about this the other night, them using that timeout. But the more that I think about it, if they're trying to get everything in place to have all their because they know all the eggs are in this basket, then they thought they needed the more time. Didn't work, but maybe that's what they needed.
I don't want to dig up old bones, and I know it's only last week, but Brian wasn't on the postgame show, and I didn't even think to say this because, well, I was basically asleep from the neck up during the show. Did anyone think that there was a chance the Steelers were going to let them score and try and have enough time to move down the field?
That's not that's not
Oh,
what
you
the
don't do
Steelers are
that,
looking
Brian?
for.
A lot of teams do that because if you need the
But
time,
you know what teams do that? Teams that trust their offense more than their defense.
I
Or
know that.
even
I know that.
equally.
I'm just saying
These
that.
two aren't even anywhere close to being on the same page.
Dave, I know that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, Mike Tomlin will say, we defend every blade of grass. Like, you've heard that for a decade plus. And I knew he wasn't going to do it, but there was a part of me that thought they have 4 cracks at this thing. Stopping this offense is going to be really challenging 4 straight times. I'm wondering if there's a discussion of, do we let them score to give our offense more time to go down and be able to at least tie it with a field goal? And I don't know if that's, some will say that's coward ball. I get it. I understand that. But then there's also the fact that you want to give your offense the time. You don't want to fall into the trap that you fell into of having to burn your final timeout and not having time left on the clock. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
Jeff, that's a great question. But the thing is that the Steelers, what happened the week before? Did you hear any talk of this? I mean, I wasn't even as tuned into Steelers Nation for that week because of everything going on.
Right.
But I felt that I heard this after the Colts game of, the problem was it was the offense needed 3 points to tie or a touchdown to win at the end of the game, and they couldn't get it done. Oh, if only it was the defense having to protect against a field goal or a touchdown, it would have been a whole different story. And then that's exactly what you got the next week. Not even the field goal, the touchdown. So you're thinking, this is what you wanted. You wanted the defense to be the team out there making the stand and not having to ask the offense to do it. And it didn't happen. And if you let them score on first down, that's what you're getting in place of what Landon Roberts did, which was single-handedly almost enough to win that game.
Ben Roethlisberger's comment on that, which was absolutely astounding, because I've watched his podcast and fast forward through the other stuff to get to when he talks about the Steelers, so you only get like half the show. He said if Dak Prescott didn't pull a Ben Roethlisberger, Miles Killebrew gets that football. And what he's talking about is that Dak Prescott didn't finish his fake. He didn't roll out. He said, I did the same thing in Indianapolis back in 2005 when Jerome Bettis fumbled, and it became a pretty famous tackle. If Dak Prescott actually rolls out after the handoff, he's nowhere near that football. Miles Killebrew either jumps on it, or it could be a scoop and off to the races situation. It's just one of those.
Who needs off to the races? You just need the ball.
It's all on the damn thing.
That's when you yell at them, no.
Go down. But that's so in other words, you're saying that being lazy on a play could actually be beneficial to the team?
Only a quarterback.
Then George Pickens is
like
in certain situations.
Hulkamania.
The hand. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come off the break, we're going to go to the injury report. We'll talk briefly about the game. Might have to take a second break. And then we're going to dive into our over-under predictions and all that stuff. So if you're watching live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Thank you all for being patient as we work our way through this crappy 2-game losing streak and the talk about George Pickens and stuff. But let's talk about this upcoming game. The Raiders, this 4th road game in six weeks. That is crazy to me. Nonetheless, the Steelers are back on the road, and there's been a long injury report for both teams. So, Dave, leave the rested players off it unless they were limited, and let's talk about it.
Okay, Steelers stuff. Russell Wilson has been full the last 2 days. Okay. DeMonte KZ did not practice either day. He's one of the doubtful players, according to Coach Tomlin, when he listed them on Tuesday. Jaylen Warren, limited for both days. He was considered doubtful. This doesn't mean that he's going to play this week, but that is a good sign for him coming back the following week. But 2 days of limited, that's going in the right direction. Nick Herbig, he's already been ruled out, didn't practice either day. Highsmith ruled out. I hope I was looking at the right thing. Yeah, Highsmith ruled out. He was limited today. I still don't think that means he's going to play this week, but man, that really does look good for him to be able to come back next week if he could go ahead and start practicing this week, even though he wouldn't have to. Let's see. Michael Pruitt was limited. He's doing the same deal as Jalen Warren was ruled out, but still kind of, or was he a doubtful one? Him and Warren were doubtful. That's right.
Yeah.
And but was limited the last 2 days. Cordero Patterson, who's been ruled out, didn't practice. Then the only other one, DeMarvin Leal, who's been ruled out, didn't practice either day. And then, of course, on Thursday, there was a new player. This one's interesting because you wonder if it came up during practice, which is more concerning than if it came up maybe before practice, sore from something yesterday. And they just said, we'll hold you out of some stuff. And that was Pat Freiermuth was limited with a calf.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Brian, any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we thought, when Mike Tomlin spoke about, he already said who was out. I know Herbig was one of the ones that was out, but I agree with Dave. The whole thing with Highsmith was he should be back by the Jets game, so this puts him in line for that. It looks like the same thing with Jalen Warren as well. What was Cordero Patterson? Did you mention him?
Yeah, he didn't practice.
He did not practice. Okay, so I must have zoned out there. But with all of that, no, this is nothing new except for the Freiermuth stuff, and I think that's just the aches and pains of Monday through Friday.
Yeah, I don't think Highsmith played this week. The reports have always been he's going to be ready for the Jets game next week. Warren is the one that's interesting. Jalen Warren has openly said that he feels good. He feels like he could go. And he talked about in Denver when he came off the field, he was banged up. He wanted to keep playing. And Mike Tomlin was like, no, you're not right. Like there's something wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if they do the same thing and he's back for next week and isn't playing this week, but we'll see. But they're both trending in the right direction. Dave, unless you have any thoughts on that, do you want to read off the Raiders?
I can go with the Raiders. All right. Now
it's a lengthy one.
Yes, it is. And I'll be honest with you. I might, it's so long. I can't get both days at the same time the way I have it. It won't fit on the screen. So I'm going to do my best to try to remember what they were on the previous day. But to start off, Devontae Adams, hamstring, didn't practice. The Raiders didn't announce it, but the reports are he's not playing this week. Correct? The Raiders haven't said it officially.
Yeah, it's not. He's not expected to play.
He's not expected to play, but the Raiders
they have not announced it.
Yeah.
The only
How
thing
nice is it that we have the number one Raider fan on our show?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, this is unbelievable. We're getting this is behind enemy lines the entire show.
Yeah.
The one thing that you got yesterday that's confusing some people when Antonio Pierce says he's a Raider, he's never not been a Raider in this whole period. So but they don't expect him to play another down in silver and black.
Yeah, I figured that, but I was just saying. So even though the reports are he's not playing this week, the team hasn't officially said that. As we know, until the team says it, it's not official. So rolling on here with an ankle, Max Crosby didn't practice either day. He's the kind of guy that could not practice all week and would still play on Sunday. That's kind of been got to check with the number one Raiders fan. Is that what he's kind of done the last couple of weeks? Not practice.
That's what he always
and then played.
It didn't look like he was going to play last week at all either.
Yeah.
That guy will play.
Yeah. Then you got linebacker Divine Diablo. Gotta love that last name. With the that's I thought that was Ricky Bobby, by the way. El Diablo. That he was full both days. Let's see. Linebacker Tommy Eichenberg was limited on Wednesday with the hamstring and then didn't practice on Thursday. Tight end Michael Mayer. No, wait, that's personal. He's been out 2 days for personal reasons. Wide receiver Tyreek McAllister, shoulder. He was limited Wednesday, but full today. Jacoby Myers with an ankle, didn't practice either day. Tackle Colton Miller with both a knee and a shoulder. Didn't practice yesterday, but was limited today, being Thursday. Oh my goodness, this is taking forever. Trayvon, how do you say that one? Moring? Okay.
Merrick.
Sure. You number one Raiders fan. Thank you. He was full both days. Tackle Thayer Munford was limited both days with a
this
knee
is
and
their
ankle.
whole team.
I know. Guard Dylan Parham with an Achilles was limited
is this
both
the same
days.
day? Are you still with?
Yeah, these are all injuries. Okay. Jackson Powers Johnson, guard, didn't practice either day with a knee. Cornerback, the Camarian, I don't know, Richardson, hamstring. Limited
Camarian
both days.
Richardson.
Okay, thank you. Number one Raiders fan.
Yep.
DJ Turner, limited wide receiver, limited both days with the hamstring. Running back Zamir White with the groin, didn't practice either day.
His
And
nickname
safety,
Zeus, by the way.
Okay. And safety Trey Taylor was limited yesterday with the knee, but was full today.
By the way, Dave,
Yeah.
the way, today is Colton Miller's 29th birthday. Just thought I'd tell you.
Okay. All right.
Who's Colton Miller?
He's on the injury list. He's
on the
the
injury list.
offensive tackle.
You're not helping your own cause here, Brian. I'll tell you that
You
right
know
now.
what? I'm embracing it now.
The skin is what he's doing now. He's just rolling with it.
He's digging in. He's digging in. All right.
Even our buddy Dave Stefano
There you
from
go.
First and Goal has to come in to say number one Raiders fan.
If you knew how much content I'm paid to produce, I have to
thing.
hear about
Hey.
these guys.
For those of you that don't understand what's going on, some of our affiliates with Fans for Sports Network need producers for their show, and Brian just so happens to be a producer that's assigned to the Raiders. So therefore, that's why he knows so much of what's going on.
There you go. There you go. All right. Enough about the
I
injury
broke down
stuff.
the fourth wall, right, Brian?
Oh, we're breaking it down with the sledge.
Oh, the fifth one's going down soon.
Well, with that being said,
I love you guys.
let's talk matchups in this game. I think there's a lot of them. Some of them will connect back to injuries. This Raiders team doesn't really do anything particularly great. When you look at their stats, when you look at their rankings, there's not one thing that they do that you're like, wow, like that's a top 10 unit. So far, the only thing that I could find was in terms of red zone offense converting into touchdowns, they are tied for 7th in that category, converting 66.7% of their red zone trips. Other than that, I mean, they do get after the quarterback. 17 sacks is tied for 4th. Yeah, I guess their third down defense is good. Their 4th and third down defense, and those are just kind of the outliers. Most of them, they're ranked 23rd defensively, giving up 131.8 yards per game on the ground. But you know, the funny thing is I'll go first. The Steelers the last 2 weeks have had an opponent that has a glaring weakness, right? Whether it's the rush defense or whatever, and they haven't been able to exploit it. They have another one here. The Raiders are struggling to stop the run. They just lost one of their biggest defensive run stoppers and playmakers in Wilkins, right? I think is his name.
I meant to say that during the interview because he's not on there because they had to put him on IR.
Right. So can the Steelers, for once, actually say, hey, here's a team that sucks doing this. Let's abuse it. Let's actually attack it. Let's actually run it down their throat. They haven't been able to do it. And I don't know if they're outthinking themselves or if it's because of the offensive line configurations that they're going to be set for a second straight week. I don't know. That's just my thought. Dave, you can chime in or you can go to another key factor for you.
I've got one factor here that one matchup that blows everything else away. And I'm so sorry that I've turned into this cynical person because you guys know that this is not typically the way I would go. But right now, I think the biggest matchup of this game for the Steelers to be successful is Mike Tomlin versus Mike Tomlin. He's just got
the helicopter coach, as you called him on Pittsburgh Steelers.
As I called him on Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to know what that is, go back to listen to Pittsburgh Steelers.
I laughed out loud during my workout when you said he was a helicopter coach.
Yeah. I like the analogy. But anyway, bottom line is, are the Steelers going to go out there and try to do just enough to beat the Raiders? Or are you going to go out there and say, we're the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. We're going to go out there. We're going to hit you in the mouth on defense. And we're going to come out on offense. And we're going to try to run it down your throat. And as soon as you think you're going to try to stop it, we're going to throw it over the top and burn you. Are you going to have that attitude? Or are you going to play in your fears? That's doesn't matter if the guys play hard. You got to go out there. You got to have that bounce back attitude of where it seems like. And it's not about wins and losses. The Steelers could have knocked that ball down on 4th down and won the game this past week. and I would still feel that they were playing scared in that game, even though they won. You've got 2 straight games of playing scared. Stop it. Get out of your own way. Doesn't matter what the Raiders have, what the Raiders throw at you. Don't overthink going up against the young quarterback. Just go out there and play Pittsburgh Steelers football, not this brand of let's not screw it up stuff that we've had to watch now for a while.
Well said. Brian, anything you want to add to that?
Wow, that Dave, one of your best diatribes ever, and I will definitely say seriously, absolutely. This is all I'm going to say about this. You could call me a Raiders fan if you want. This team stinks. I've been paying attention to this team. They are not good. Those 2 wins, wow, I don't know where they came from. I watched the Cleveland game. Cleveland's a mess. The Raven game was awesome just because it was the Ravens losing. Cleveland was awesome, but they did everything that they could to lose that game against Cleveland as well. Now, that's not what they're talking about elsewhere. There's a lot of people that think the Raiders should be 4-1 right now, and that's coming out of Las Vegas. But these injuries mounting up are killing this team, and they weren't great in the first place. The quarterback situation is a lot worse than it's in Pittsburgh. It's not good. I mean, Gardner Minshew had 3 picks last week, two regular ones and one of the nose that everybody saw on the sideline. If you haven't seen that, Jeff apparently has not seen that on Twitter, but the pick the nose and eat it thing online. Oh yeah, it's there. It was on Twitter. It was so. No, this team is in rough shape right now, but you've got 2 guys that that are going to wreck you, one on offense and one on defense. And the one on offense is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is everything that you want out of a tight end and more. I mean, he's the kind of guy, he fell in their lap. He should have went a whole lot higher. I'm glad he didn't go to Cincinnati. This guy is that darn good. And I'm telling you, he can put up yards and points and destroy you right away. So whoever's on him, I don't know who exactly is going to be on him. I don't know whether Queen or Wilson has to be on him. I'm not exactly sure, but he's dangerous. He could go out wide on you too. He is that dangerous. And then Max Crosby, if you want to have some entertainment as well. Did I lose you?
Nope, you're
here.
There you go. You just disappeared from my screen. That was weird. But if you want some entertainment as well, watch Max Crosby yell at Bo Nix, and and so that's good. That guy is the guy's basically TJ Watt. He's if the roles were reversed, Max Crosby in Pittsburgh, he'd be your favorite all-time.
Oh, I love Max Crosby, except when he's playing the Steelers. Yeah,
and he has hurt. Doesn't matter. He comes to play. He can hurt you. So whoever he's matched up against, and I would think it would be Broderick Jones. It could be a long day.
Yeah, it's going to be really intriguing. A lot of these storylines, and you bring up, going against Aiden O'Connell, who's getting his first start this year. What's that going to look like? You talk about the injuries. Robert Spillane is like a hero over there. I mean, they love Robert Spillane.
Yeah.
And here are Steeler fans saying, we watched Robert Spillane get abused in coverage for years. Could we do that to him? Like, gets Pat Freiermuth, let him run down the seam and abuse Robert Spillane. We'll see. We shall see. But let's get this super chat here. Isaac Aguilera, longtime listener of the program, goes all the way back to the Blog Talk Radio days. He said, gives us $5 and says, I'll be at the game. Dad, I hope I don't see you in a black and silver jersey. LOL. Brian, you're not going to be at this one, right?
No, I will not be there.
You weren't at the last one either, technically.
Yeah, just sulking in the parking lot. StubHub, don't bring that up, Jeff. But no, I will not be there, and I do not own a silver and black jersey
yet. Okay.
Listen to him.
So
no, it's black and silver. That's why.
Oh, okay. There you go.
No, it's silver.
Or it's white with black numbers.
Listen
All right,
to
so
these guys.
it's okay. We're gonna take another quick break. When we come back, we're gonna do the over/under game, and then we're gonna get into our predictions, do some trivia. Brian will go down memory lane in 90 seconds. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we're back, and it's time for the over/under game. It's everyone's favorite part of the show, where I think of 6 lines. We take a guess at whether it's over or under for the upcoming game. We keep tabs on all this stuff. Dave, what's the tally?
Oh my goodness. I should have gone with my gut.
Should have.
Because what did I say? Man, I should really break the precedence here, and I should take the push on 1.5 TJ Watt sacks.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, we just threw that one out as a push. If I'd have guessed push, sorry, that would have counted. But for the week, I fall even further behind. Brian and Jeff each had 3 right, where I had 2. Brian was the only one to get a point when it came to picking the game. We all took, I drank the Kool-Aid and took the over for once. But Brian, although he picked the Steelers to win, he picked the Cowboys to cover. So technically he gets that point. That means for the season, Jeff is still in first place with 18. Brian's not, still just as far behind with 16, and I'm way behind with 10. I am leading with picking the games. My 5 to Brian's 4 to Jeff's 3.
All right. Are we ready for this week's over/under?
Not really.
Are you ready to write? Is essentially what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm ready to write.
All right. First one, Las Vegas Raiders points. This is just the Raiders points. I've got the line at 13.5. Brian, over/under.
I'm going to have to go over with 16.
Okay. Dave?
I don't know what that total is yet because I didn't think about what my score was going to be, but I'm going to go over. I mean, the defense for the last 2 weeks has given up at 20 or more points. So until they show me they can get back on track, I'm not thinking they're keeping someone under 15.
Under. I've got the under. I just think this defense is going to rise up. So we'll see. Let's go to the next one. Pittsburgh Steelers takeaways. They got 3 last game. 1.5 is the line. Brian, over/under.
2. Over.
All right. Dave?
I'm going to go over as well because if they don't, they're probably in trouble because they had to have 3 last week just to keep them in it and a block field goal.
I'm going to go under with 1. I do think they get 1, but it's going to be under. All right, let's go to the next one. Total touchdowns for Justin Fields. So this would include rushing or throwing. I've got the line at 1.5. Brian, over/under.
I got to go under because I don't know if he's playing. I don't know. I have that weird feeling that he does not play this whole game.
Well, if he doesn't start, this will get thrown out.
Okay.
So like if he doesn't play in the game, then this is just this is a thrown out from the mix. But let's assume that he plays.
Then let's go with the over then.
Come on, Jeff. That was my chance to get one back. Why'd you talk him out of it? Yeah, I'm going to go with you over as well because my goodness, he's accounted for every single Steelers touchdown this year, one way or the other. So unless they're not scoring 2 touchdowns, which could be the case, I think they're going to need 2.
Or I'm taking over, or they actually get some rushing touchdowns from someone else. It could happen. You never know. Jonathan Ward. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh Steelers sacks. Steelers defense sacking, in this case, Aiden O'Connell. I've got the line at 2.5, Brian.
I'm going to go under here.
Okay, they have not given up a lot of sacks. That is the Raiders.
Well, the other reason is that's TJ Watt is going.
I'm sorry. They have surrendered 17 sacks. That's tied for 4th. I apologize.
Okay. I just feel the reason here is they're going to be keying on TJ like crazy, chipping, doing whatever they can to take him out. And if you have to see Big Milk rushing the passer from a linebacker position, I don't know if he's going to get there.
Big who?
Isaiah Loudermilk.
Milk.
Oh, Milk.
The milkman.
The milk.
You don't think Jeremiah Bad Moon Rising isn't going to get home at least once? Okay, so you said under?
I'm going under.
All right, Dave.
I'm going over because it's gonna be hard to keep TJ Watt off the board, even if you throw a lot at him. And who's honestly TJ Watt's all world, but so you kind of got to take him out of the mix. Who's been the Steelers' best defender this season outside of Watt?
Cam.
In my opinion, it's Cam Hayward. Let's
Yeah.
get Cam a sack or two in this game. That would be nice. He steps up when the Steelers need it the most. So that's what I'm going to go over.
Last year in Vegas, Keanu Benton almost swallowed Jimmy Garoppolo whole. I think that he might get one here as well. If you remember, that was the one where he almost got him before he got the snap. It was amazing.
I don't.
Yeah.
Actually.
He just was like
engulfing
him with his giant body. And just anyways, I think
it's too
enough.
hard to tell the number on your phone watching it in the parking lot.
I forgot.
Jerks. It's true.
I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over.
Jersey.
I'm taking the over. All right.
You're taking the over. Okay.
All right. The Las Vegas Raiders rush defense, I mentioned this earlier, is 23rd in the NFL, surrendering 131.8 yards per game. I'll preface it with that. I've got Steelers total rushing yards, 99.5. Over under, Brian.
I'm going to go over. It's got to, whether it be a quarterback run, I think Najee can get back to 70. So it's going to happen.
All right, Dave.
It's going to be split over multiple players, but I think they could at least crack 100.
Okay, I agree. I'm going over as well. So we're all going over. Last one here. George Pickens receptions. 5.5. Brian, what do you think?
Wow, it's just
Ooh.
This is what a great line. Yeah, I'm gonna go under on this one.
Oh, okay, Dave.
Hey, 5.5. I mean, I'd like to go over to say that he's going to go crazy, but 5.5. That's really big. I mean, what's the most that he's had this year? Did you have 7 in a game? I think
He might have.
so. You know what? Go big or go home. I've gone over for everything this game. Let's just go over again.
I'm going over. Remember, this is receptions, not even for positive yardage. I think they're going to try and get him the ball early and often to keep him engaged.
Even if it's the -3 yards.
Doesn't matter. He could have 7 catches for -25 and we're still over. So I'm going with over. I think they're going to try and get Pickens the ball early. They're going to want to make him happy. That's what people do in the NFL when you've got a receiver that's upset. So I think they're going to absolutely quick little hitter to George Pickens early, make him see if he misses. Doesn't matter. Counts as one. I'm taking the over. So there you go. Those are the 6 for this week. So, all right. Let's talk about predictions. Let's look at the line. The Steelers on the road are giving 3 points to the Las Vegas Raiders. If you want to bet the spread, the Steelers are -112, giving 3. If you're looking at the money line, the Steelers are -162 with an over-under of 36.5. 36.5 This is a tough one to predict.
36.5. I haven't looked at this yet to try to figure out my score. Okay.
I looked just before we recorded. So those are at least as up to date as we get. Brian, what do you think the score is in this one?
I am taking the under because I'm going 20-16 in this game in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will say this is the last time I pick the Steelers if they don't win. Because I've picked them the last 2 weeks. And I got to tell you, if they lose this is the one game that I think you have to win because it's glaring how bad the Raiders are right now. And how, with everybody that thinks that the Steelers are a mess, this team is in so much worse shape than your black and gold. And I'm telling you, our black and gold, my black and gold. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now that they have to win this game. That's why I'm saying that this is a pivotal contest. And it's hard to say at week 6 that something's pivotal, but the rest of the season will go to pot if they lose this game. So 20-16.
Dave, what's your prediction?
Well, the Las Vegas Raiders are undefeated against the AFC North this year. they've also had a pattern of lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win a game, and they just lost a game. So that kind of stuff should tell you to, should it go that way? But I so want to believe that the Steelers are going to change their philosophy and come out here and say, you know what? It's time to stop pussyfooting around and go out here and play some freaking football. And let's go out here and embarrass a team that we should be able to embarrass. But that's not what I've seen. But yet something in my heart just means that it just tells me it's going to be no fun to watch a game if I don't think the Steelers are going to win. So I think the Steelers will win, but not cover. And I have it being 17-15.
Oh, wow.
So that's the under.
How do you get to 15?
It's going to be 14, and the Raiders are going to score a touchdown to where it would be 13. They're going to try to go for 2 to tie it, and they're not going to get it, and then they'll eat straight a field goal.
Interesting. Okay. I am going to go with the Steelers to win this game. That's a shocker to everyone that's listened to the podcast before. Mm-hmm. And I'm going with the score of Steelers 23, the Las Vegas Raiders 13.
What was it?
So 23-13.
13, yeah. So you went under 13.5, so I figured, yeah.
Yep. Barely just under. So I've got 23-13. I think the Steelers perform in a way that we feel a little bit better about the team moving forward. And I think it's what they need. Is it a get-right game? I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think the Steelers win. So there you go. All right. Let me set the timer. Brian's going down memory lane here.
Wait, are you doing it? Are you setting it or am I setting it? Oh, you got it? All right.
I can do it. All right. So let me get the stopwatch. Are you ready, Brian?
Yes, I am.
Here we go. Go ahead.
All right. We're not talking about the Immaculate Reception here because I don't have memories of that game. But one of my favorite years that we talk about all the time, Tony and I, when we would do the show that we did with the Black and Gold DeLorean, we go back to 1984 a lot. The Steelers were an 8-7 team going into the last game of the season in 1984. And it was a must win to get in the playoffs. A lot of teams had to lose. They lost. And the Steelers were playing the defending champion Los Angeles Raiders at the time. They went in and won this game 13-7. It was 3-0 going into the fourth quarter. And the Steelers won this game by the score of 13-7. Great running performance by Walter Abercrombie and Frank Pollard. Why is this game so important to me? It was right before Christmas. 1984 is one of my favorite years. But my mother's Aunt Josephine died that weekend. And we went to the funeral home that night. And the only thing that kept people from going into deep sorrow was talking about the magic of a 13-7 win. And the fact that the Steelers were going into the playoffs. And they ended up in the AFC Championship game. It was a special game. I will never forget this game in the Los Angeles Coliseum, boys.
120. Good job, Brian.
Oh,
He's
wow.
done really good job.
Yeah.
Really good job. All right.
I want to say this. It's too recent. But just think in years to come, one of the better memories will be on the celebrated the anniversary of the Immaculate Reception on Christmas Eve, right after Franco passes. The Steelers in the freezing cold can get a win at home against the Raiders. Now, that one's a little bit too recent now. Just think that's one that we're going to remember, and hopefully maybe even our kids can remember.
Yeah, special game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, trivia time.
Trivia time. It's so interesting because it's people were asking, oh, man, the Steelers have a chance to have a 3-game losing streak. Oh, no. When's the last time they did that?
3-game losing streak?
2013, they lost 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it
2019?
22.
It was last year, guys.
Oh yeah, Colts and Patriots and Cardinals.
Talk about in the live chat. The Cardinals, Patriots, and
I try to block that out.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that are like, oh yeah, but what's the longest losing streak the Steelers have within one season? I don't give this. Oh, you you ended 1 year and started the next year. We're not doing that. This within one
Okay.
season. What's the longest losing streak the Steelers have had under head coach Mike Tomlin?
I would say I have my answer. So go ahead, Jeff.
I'm gonna say 4.
I'm going to say
The other
5.
question is when. Yeah.
5 in 2009.
And Brian would be correct that there was a 5-game losing streak in 2009. That's right. That's a year in between 2 Super Bowl appearances. Yes, they dropped 5 in a row. And Ben Roethlisberger only missed one of those games. Do you remember which one he missed, Brian?
It wasn't the Unleash Hell game.
Didn't he get concussed in Kansas City that year?
Yep. And he missed the next. Remember, he had to tell Dennis Dixon like the night before that
Ravens.
I'm not going to clear protocol you're playing. And they lost back-to-back overtime games after Kansas City. Then they lose to Baltimore in overtime. But yeah, they lost to the Bengals. I mean, this was after a 5-game win streak. They lost at home against the Bengals, in Kansas City, in Baltimore, at home against the Raiders, and then in Cleveland. Then they turn around and finish it up, winning 3 in a row to go 9-7, and just have a year. But here's my other question, and right now I'm going to stick to the Tomlin era. If you're talking about 3-game losing streaks, the Steelers had that twice in one season. What year was that?
Say that again.
They had a 3-game losing streak twice in the same season. When was that?
I'm going to go with 2018.
Jefferson?
I don't know if they ever lost 3 in a row in 2019, but for some reason I'm thinking 2019. I don't know why.
And Jeff would be right. They lost their first 3 games of 2019.
Yes.
And they lost their last 3 games of 2019, which started with the infamous spooning incident on Sunday Night Football.
Wildcat.
Don't get me started. So yeah, what's crazy is that you lose 3 to begin the season, 3 to end the season, and go 8-2 with rest in the middle. Is what's crazy. Now that's not the only time they've done it. That also happened in 2006. They had 2 3-game losing streaks. They also did that in 2000. They had 2 3-game losing streaks as well. And in 99 they had a 3-game losing streak. And Brian, what else did they have that season? How many did they lose in a row? In
99?
Yeah.
I think it was 5 or 6. I think it was 5.
Your or is correct. They lost 6 in a row. So they lost 3 in a row in weeks 3, 4, and 5. And then they lost from week 10 through week 15, 6 games in a row there in a year that they finished 6-10. So not that we want to talk about losing streaks, but because people were asking about it, I mean, that I saw put out there of when this has happened, I just thought it was a little thing to bring up for trivia.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff. All right, Bryan Davis, time for final thoughts.
I'm still ringing out things from Sunday night at that game. It was thank goodness it wasn't cold in Heinz Field. Now they were in Acrisure Stadium. They were telling everybody to go ahead and make sure you leave the Stadium Bowl and go into the concourse. Where my seats were, could not get to the concourse. We were stuck, and here with lightning, I'm by a metal rail. I went back. I covered myself. One of my family members that I was there with extended family, they bought me an oversized terrible towel. I had it over me. It was all great until I thought a guy had a heart attack and he fell down and in between the bleachers, and I ran down. I just threw it off, and I got even more soaked just to find out he was blind drunk and wanted to leave. And I was the first one there, so I had to pry him out. Everything was soaked to the bone the entire game. And I tell you what, I got home at 6:30 in the morning. or 6:25 to be exact. And I got home. It was a miserable day on Monday. But you know what? I love this team so much, I'll do it again. And I'll do it again. I'll complain about it. But guess what? After I do it 2 times again, I'll do it again. Because once you have that fever for this team, the little things like that are big things don't really matter. Because when you're in love, whether it be a woman, a man, a pet, a child, no matter what it is, whatever you're in love with, even a football team, you stick with it. And we can complain about Mike Tomlin. We can complain about living in the fears. We've lots of negativity about Mike Tomlin today. They're still 3-2. And when I talk about this being a pivotal game, the difference between 3-3 and 4-2 is huge. And I really think that the Steelers, whether they get right or not in this game, because they've got a lot of pimples, but whether they get right or not, as long as they go ahead and win this game, they are going to continue to fight, because this team, and under Mike Tomlin, they've had that fighting spirit, and they win games they're not supposed to. If this is a team that I think they are, they're going to win a game that they're supposed to. So even though they are beaten badly, they're going to live to fight again, and it's going to be this weekend in Vegas.
All right, Dave, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, there's a quote that's often attributed to Albert Einstein, although there's really no proof that he said it, was the whole idea of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Okay. That's what I'm trying to avoid with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't try to do the same thing over and over again of just trying to have an offense that doesn't screw it up and have a defense that can go out there and set yourself up for a good third down situation to then curl back and live in your fears in that as well. So my thing is, yes, am I a bit cynical about stuff after 2 weeks of this? Absolutely. Am I down on the coaching staff and thinking they need criticism? I am, and I'm usually not. Do I think that they should all lose their jobs right now? No, that would be the antithesis of trying to correct the ship and making things productive. So my thing is, be better, Pittsburgh Steelers. Have a better game plan to go out there and actually win a game. People want to know why the Steelers so often in past years win games in which they're the underdog. It's because they play like the underdog, and they play in attack mode, because that's what you have to do as an underdog. I wish the Steelers were underdogs for every game the rest of this season, and everyone's saying they can't win these games, because to me, that's when they rise to the occasion. But trying to get by on a game that you should win, I'm not looking forward to see if that's the philosophy again this Sunday. My hope is that it's not. We'll see it if it happens, but I'm going to be with my oversized terrible towel that is usually draped around me in the post-game show. I'm going to be doing it as well. The insanity of it for myself would be tuning in every week expecting the Steelers to open it up on offense when they continually don't do it. I don't want to be insane. So come on, Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't drive me crazy.
Well said, guys. And so it's been a great show. We will be there on, I think we're all going to be there on the post-game show. And so make sure you check us out after the game. Remember, that's a 4:05 Eastern time kickoff, not 4:25, definitely not 1 o'clock. And thank God it's on a night game. We have 2 of those coming up after this, but still, thank you all very much for sticking around. And guys, thanks for your time. Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey,
we'll see you next week on another Steelers preview. Take it easy.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.